Last chance for white checks. Last chance for white balance.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Is there anything unrelated to who's watching you or not that you'd like answers to? We don't have anything from overnight to share with you guys, but of course, if there's any questions you have, you can answer those before we start. Good. No? All good? Okay. So with us this morning, we have Deputy Chief Constable Alan Palmer from the Vancouver Police Investigations Division, and he's going to be speaking to you about a campaign to change the way that we treat your property, the way that we deal with our property. We've got Constable Rob Brunt, one of our bike experts within the police department, avid cyclist, and someone that has a passion for trying to prevent bikes from getting stolen in Vancouver. And all of the videos, all of the posters that you see here, and we're going to show you today, we've sent them up to your networks through Dropbox. So if you have a problem accessing those, feel free to get a hold of Sandra, Brian, or I will make sure you get the proper links. Please do as you will with those videos and posters. The plan is we want to blanket the city. We want to reach as many people as we can with this. We're also in the process of reviewing our public service announcement status, or we're in the application process to have the latest one approved for videos. And we'll, Ross, can you turn the audio? Thanks. And then we will be approaching your networks to hopefully submit those PSA distributions to your networks. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Deputy Chief Constable Alan Palmer and Rob Brunt as well.
Morning, everybody. As everybody knows from looking at the crime stats and media coverage over the last few years, we know that in the last decade or so, the crime has dropped pretty significantly in Vancouver. We've seen drops in violent crime, drops in property crime, and of course drops in the overall crime rate. And I'm pretty confident in telling you that Vancouver is a safe city. It's a very safe place to live. And usually when we stand up here and we're doing a press conference with you, we're standing up here telling you about a serious incident that's happened, something overnight that's a concern and gets a lot of attention from the media. But today I'm here to talk to you about something that's less serious, more minor type crimes, but something that is bucking the trend and something that's going the opposite direction, something that's actually been getting worse over the last few years. And these are minor thefts, miscellaneous thefts. When you look at the crime stats, you see that category there. They're called other theft or theft other. And I'm not talking about break-ins to houses, break-ins to cars, anything like that. I'm talking about things being stolen from Vancouverites as they go about their day-to-day business living in the city. I'm talking about wallets, smartphones, purses, backpacks, laptops, tablets, those types of devices that are being stolen on a daily basis in Vancouver. Just to give you an idea what I'm talking about, we're talking about common occurrences that happen every day. So people are going to coffee shops, they're going to the mall, food court, they're going to the parks or beaches with their kids, they're going to the library, they're going to bars and nightclubs, and they're having a drink with their friends. But what's happening when they're going to those very common situations that we all deal with in our daily lives is that it's a lack of inattention that's causing some of these items to be stolen. We developed a series of posters. There's 5 posters altogether. They cover off a variety of these settings. And the same ones I talked about, you'll see one for a coffee shop restaurant setting where 2 people are sitting down, they're having coffee, and somebody's item is stolen. And sometimes what will happen is, it's not just the whole item is stolen like the purse, because quite often when the purse is stolen, people will notice that quite quickly. What we're seeing is that thieves are coming along and they're stealing items out of purses, out of backpacks, off of tables when people aren't looking surreptitiously, and people don't often notice for an hour or 2 later when they get home and they look in their purse or their handbag and they realize, my smartphone's gone, my wallet's gone, that kind of thing. These types of crimes, just to give you an idea of how many are happening in our city, last year in 2013, and this is not including bicycles, we had 6,819 such thefts happen in Vancouver. That works out to 18 to 19 of those happening every single day. And those are just the reported ones that we know about. We know that there's probably more than that happening that go unreported. We want to raise public awareness on this. We think these are crimes of opportunity and easy to prevent. So I'm just going to illustrate by showing you some of these posters. So what you see over here, this is going to be called Who's Watching It When You're Not. And 2 of the posters that you're looking at, you're seeing one that's a beach or a park setting, and you're seeing another one that's a library setting. These are common occurrences that you see every day in Vancouver. And what's nice about these posters, they're very simple, very easy to understand. We're putting them out in Cantonese and Punjabi as well, distributing them throughout the city in high theft locations, as well as working with some public partners that I'll tell you about in a sec. But they also contain QR codes. And when you scan your smartphone on the QR code, it will play a video that's about 15 seconds long. It gets straight to the point. There's no dialogue. It just explains very succinctly what the issue is. And I'll just, Sergeant Finch will display these for you. The book and join the day. Their bike is there. Somebody walks along, the person's with their kids, reading a book. They don't even notice that somebody walks away with their bike. Just very nonchalant, very casual. The other one, again, another common setting in a bar, sitting down, socializing with your friends, having a drink. Purse is up on the table, you don't think much about it, it's close to your body, and people are snatching things, just pinching it right out of the purse, whether it's a smartphone or a wallet or tablets or other types of devices. Very commonly happening in the city. And there's a variety of settings like this that we're seeing every day going on. We're working with some of our community partners, and for example, Bar Watch, who the VPD's had a long-standing relationship with. As you know, we've worked with Bar Watch for many years, and we've been very successful driving down the gang violence in the bars. Gangsters know now that Vancouver is not a comfortable place to come if you want to perpetrate violence in the city. And the violence has come down significantly in our bars and in our gravel entertainment district. But now we're seeing some thefts happening in these bars. And if you can kind of picture this, like people going to a bar or a nightclub, you're sitting down, you've got your jacket or your purse at the table, you get up to use the washroom, you get up to dance, whatever it is, your stuff is left unattended. People are pinching the purse or the smartphone or the entire purse and just walking out. We're also working with a cruise ship terminal. And the Metro Port of Vancouver is going to be partnering with us as well. We get about 600,000 passengers every year that come through the Port of Vancouver on the Alaska cruises. And we're going to have posters up in that area as well, just to let tourists know what's going on. This is not unique to Vancouver, but we know it happens in all major cities, but just situational awareness so people are more cognizant of their belongings and don't get caught up with that inattention. The other thing I want to talk about this morning is bicycle theft. And as Sergeant Finch mentioned, I've got Constable Rob Brunt with me here today, who's a subject matter expert in this area. And what's interesting when you look at bicycle theft, you probably noticed when you came to the property office this morning, you saw a bunch of bikes out there, you see bikes behind you, and you see this rack up above you that holds 465 bicycles. Thousands of bicycles are stolen every year in Vancouver. Last year we had over 2,000 bicycles stolen. This year we've had about 1,800 plus stolen year to date. The summer is the worst time of year for us. We had about 800 bikes stolen this summer. It works out to about 9 bicycles a day. We saw the rate of bicycle theft go up 19% in 2012 and 11% in 2013. And what's interesting is that during that same period of time this year when we've had over 1,800 bikes stolen, we've also recovered about 1,000 bikes. Of those 1,000 bikes that we recovered, only about 10% have recorded serial numbers that we're able to trace back and return to the owner. The majority of the bikes we do get back have serial numbers, but people have not recorded them and have not reported them stolen from the police. So that creates a very interesting dynamic where we're recovering a lot of them, where if it was your vehicle, even if the plates are off, it's easy to recover the vehicle and give it back to the owner because you still have the serial number on your car, and that's recorded through ICBC, but when it's on your bike, if you don't record it, you don't know what it is, we're not going to be able to get it back to you. And we don't want to have your bikes and having to auction them off once a year at the auction that everybody knows about in the spring. We want to be able to return those bikes to the owners. We do have officers and civilians that work very hard trying to return those bikes, and we are successful returning quite a number. We've returned over $100,000 worth of bikes so far this year, but we want to return more. Similar to what we've done with the Who's Watching It When You're Not, we have Project Log It. Project Log It is a game. You'll see these bike hangers. We printed 7,200 of them. You're going to see these bike hangers showing up in bike shops, community policing centers, the police station, and as well online. And there's a video attached to this as well. And this is basically bringing people attention to this issue, making sure that they record the serial numbers on their bikes, they're using good quality locks, and engraving their driver's license number onto their bicycles. All these things can be done to improve the chances of getting your bicycles back. I think a lot of people may be under the impression that it's not worth recording your serial number because if a thief steals your bike, the first thing you're going to do is scratch off the serial number. But in fact, that's not the case. A lot of the bikes that we do recover still have the serial numbers intact. And in fact, if you're a bike thief and you're going to sell a bike, it's more beneficial for the number not to be scratched off, because if you're a purchaser, are you going to want to purchase a bike that has a serial number obliterated? You're not. It looks more legitimate if the actual serial number is still on it. So the serial numbers do stay on for the most part. There is a benefit for recording that number. And we're seeing people even with high-end bikes who are not recording that number and providing it to the police. So very important step to getting your bike back. Happy to take any questions about either program.
With respect to the cruise ship, I found that interesting. Are the tourists being hit hard? Is that why you're getting that up? Are tourists in particular being hit hard?
It's not tourists in particular, but we know that we're trying to target locations where we have a high volume of people coming through. And the cruise ship terminal is a logical location, but it's day-to-day Vancouverites as well. It can be any of us in the room in those situations I'm talking about, going out for a drink, going out for a coffee, going to the library. Doesn't matter if you're a tourist or not, because I think we're all guilty of it sometimes. You sit down and you get that sense of safety in the city and a little bit of complacency. Maybe you don't want to lose your seat, so you leave your laptop sitting there while you go get a refill on your coffee. Meanwhile, somebody walks by and his pockets or whatever's on the table.
What do you think? Is it primarily bikes or is it mostly phones and that kind of thing? What thing you're seeing?
A lot of cell phones, a lot of wallets. Any kind of smartphone is really popular. Anything sticking out of a purse, anything that could be small tablets, laptops, those types of items. The bicycles as well, like the bicycles are stolen in two different ways. Sometimes they will be locked up already and the locks are defeated by a more sophisticated person that can defeat a lock. But sometimes people get complacent with bikes as well and they'll just pull up, they want to run into a coffee shop for a sec, they'll leave their bike unattended outside. As soon as they're turned around and they're ordering from the barista, somebody pinches your bike and away they go.
In terms of wallets and phones and things, is it more a crime of opportunity, or are there actually professional pickpockets out there who as you're walking?
That's a good question. I would say it's more a crime of opportunity, but there are people that are looking for that opportunity, and they are criminals, and that's what they're doing. They're scouting out locations and looking for people to leave things unattended. We don't have a huge issue with what you would call traditional pickpocketing per se, where it's like, you know, a large crowd and somebody reaching into your pocket and stealing that. This is more things being left, not necessarily on your person, but close by. You're just not paying attention, you're distracted. Maybe you're on your smartphone looking here and your purse is right there, or maybe you're talking with somebody, or you're reading a book or whatever, and your stuff is hanging over the back of your chair and they just lift it out and keep going.
So these aren't necessarily good professional thieves, they're just...
Crimes of opportunity, a lot of them, yeah.
But it begs the question, why? Why are, at the end of the day, why are the rates going up so dramatically in some cases?
Well, I think a couple of reasons. I mean, number one, the population goes up. Every year, the Vancouver population goes up by about 10,000 people, so we got more people coming to the city. And I think we are, generally speaking, as Vancouverites, crime's been going down. We're a pretty trusting bunch. We think it's a pretty safe city. When you're hanging around downtown, Vancouver, it's a great place to be. I don't think anybody really feels, scared walking around downtown. And that's why I'm happy to be up here today, not talking to you about some really violent offense, but I'm telling you about now some of the more minor things that we're seeing, that people are being victimized just by not paying attention.
You touched on it already a little bit, but phones and wallets. Where is the primary spot that they're getting, number one spot where they're grabbing us? The question is it?
Well, when we look at the data, it's actually spread out over a number of different places. The ones I mentioned, so libraries get hit, coffee shops get hit quite a bit, bars and nightclubs, parks and beaches, shopping malls, and the food court is another popular area as well because people are eating. Maybe they go up and grab some dessert or grab another coffee, whatever it is. They're talking, they're engaged in conversation. Anywhere really where people are sitting down socializing and their attention is, distracted by something else. The library is an interesting one because, you can all probably think back when you're in school, and it's timely now with kids being back in university and high school. Kids go to the library, they put their backpack down, they got all their stuff kind of strewn about. Maybe they go to the washroom, maybe they go to get another book, whatever it is, and their stuff's just lying there and somebody can just walk through and grab it. So it's not one particular place, it's just more that it's quite prevalent in our city that I think we're very trusting people, which is good, and we do feel it's a safe city, but it's just that little bit where if you just pay a little bit more attention to these issues, we can probably reduce this quite a bit. We think it's preventable.
People get their bikes back and get their phones back.
Sometimes. It's, the percentage of people getting their bikes back is only about 10%, so it's not high. The phones, again, similar situation. Sometimes we'll check people and recover stolen phones, other times not. Sometimes these things are sold over the internet. Sometimes they're more organized. It's a variety of different situations.
So it's fair to say once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, we don't get a lot back. Some, but a lot.
Any other questions, Jackie?
You say these are all minor thefts. Do you think you're going to be trying to crack down on these kind of offenders a little more, or I'm sure there's not much?
Yeah, it comes down to priorities. So this is an area where we think we can get a really good bang for our buck through crime prevention. We will target somebody if we know somebody is a prolific offender doing these types of crimes. But in the whole scheme of things that you can imagine the police department has to deal with, sometimes if you're talking about cracking down, like putting surveillance on somebody or doing a project on somebody, we may be more inclined to go after somebody that's breaking into houses or robbing banks or whatever, like somebody that's committing more serious crimes. So for these more minor crimes, we think that there's a lot the public can do that to protect themselves.
So you're saying this isn't the kind of crime where we need to take more personal responsibility, is there?
Yes.
Can you say that?
This is a crime where we feel that if people take more responsibility and pay more attention to their belongings when they're out in social settings, that it will reduce the number of crimes happening.
Great, thanks, guys.
Didn't you?